Are you ready for this?
Are you ready to get casual? Grab your favorite adult beverage or combustible plant and join us for our roundtable ttrpg discussion. Oh yeah, it's time for Casual Friday. And now, here are your hosts.
Hell yeah! This is Casual Friday. You might have noticed that one of the people in that intro video is not the person who is fading in and out of existence below on the screen. We'll get to that in just a second. Hi, I am GM Jim, and I'm here for Casual Friday, and that over there is...
Hey, I'm Ryan Doyle from the Verdigris Table, and I am also here for Friday and Casual.
And introducing...
I am Phil Kearney, also here for Casual Fridays. You can find me at Phil Kearney pretty much anywhere.
Nice. So, Brad couldn't be with us today. His extended furlough was denied, so he will be serving his sentence in Pennsylvania instead of being home with his family this weekend as he had hoped to be. We will see where that is all at next week. Hey, Twin Steel.
Woo!
So this is Casual Friday, so make sure you get your favorite afternoon adult beverage or combustible plant or however you like to relax on your Friday Arvos, and let us dive into some new stuff because there's been a lot happening in the D&D specific hobby as we're gearing up to these new books coming out. Books have been getting into the hands of lots and lots of people. And so we've seen more opinion pieces coming out about the new books. I'm mainly speaking of Ted from Nerd Immersion, because dude is a machine. He's a content producing machine. He's also very nice Foley work, right? I
appreciate that. I appreciate, yeah. I put a lot of work into it.
But anyway, so there've been some little mini scandals, I guess, or very newsworthy bits of items coming out about the player's handbook. And from the main thing that I can see is that they attempted with the new player's handbook to refine a lot of language to close loopholes. And in some places they did that. But it also appears that the way that they have rephrased a lot of things have created new loopholes for people to be able to expose. And so I wanted to share this. This is just a screenshot of some more recent videos from Ted from Nerd Immersion. And I thought I would just mention what all of these things are referring to, and then we can, the three of us and chat, debate and discuss some of these. So now I will proceed to do that. Okay.
I'm ready. I am prepared. I'll let you do that.
At the top left there, opportunity attack. There is a strange bit of wiggle room in the 5.5 rules now, where previously an opportunity attack said that if there was a hostile creature leaving your reach, you can make an opportunity attack. Now it simply says if a creature leaves your reach. So this could be a non-hostile creature. And Ted from Nerd Immersion suggested that if it is an ally of yours, you could push them with your you could shove them, or if someone has Warcaster, they could cast Cure Wounds as you go by. That there are several different ways that this could be exploited. One on the right there, Nick, I'll talk about in a second because that's the most complicated one. But in the top right, Ted with his little orange hat, you can cast multiple spells on a turn now. Well, so they changed the rule. They tried to close that ancient loophole around bonus action spells, that ancient confusion around being able to cast a bonus action spell and then a spell with your action, where now they've simply said you get one spell slot per turn, and that is it. And so that seems like very clarifying language, but what that then calls into question is ways that to cast magical spells without using a spell slot, such as scrolls, magic items that cast magic, or once per day spells like from Eldritch Invocations. Those things don't use a slot to cast. So if I could cast Fireball with my action, then use my Fey Touched feat that gives me 1 free Misty Step per day to also Misty Step. And I don't think that was their intended action. I mean, their intent with this. Moving on the bottom left, stun creatures can move. They updated the stun condition, and it no longer says that it reduces your speed to 0. They just excised that little bit of language there, and so now being stunned incapacitates you, but incapacitated, the condition itself does not set your speed to 0. Also, so then the stuff around Nick, this is super confusing because now with dual wielding you can make an attack. Then if it is a light weapon, you can make an offhand attack. And that's how it's always been. You can make an attack, you can make a bonus action attack with your offhand. But now, if you have the Nick weapon mastery, instead of using your bonus action, that extra attack just comes from your action. So now it's unclear if you have something that grants a bonus action attack, such as the new dual wielding feat, you get an extra attack. Because dual wielding says if you are wielding 2 weapons, you can make an extra attack with a bonus action later in the same turn. And then there's some confusion around if the rules actually say there should not. There was some activity in the comments that I might show if you guys are interested on Ted's post. That I think he deleted that video by now, and he made an update.
He made it twice. Yeah. Which goes to show how freaking confusing it is, because he's careful to get things right. He's not trying to sensationalize things as much as some people do. But he deleted that video, re-recorded it, put up a new version of it. Yeah, basically, Nick is a little weird, and all of these things are. I kind of overloaded and zoomed out. The idea that we are reading the oracle here to figure out what rules as intended versus rules as written is bananas. This conversation shouldn't be happening. This is not a new game that we're playing. This is an update to a 10-year-old thing. Why can he make 4 videos in a day about this is confusing and weird? Why don't they write what they intend? Other people are doing it. I can pull some stuff off the shelf that it's complicated, but clear what the intentions are. Stun creatures, have to have a 0 movement speed, right? As intended?
You'd think so, yeah.
If they want me to be able to use my opportunity attack on an ally, cool. I'm not against it, right? If I can burn my reaction to shove someone an extra 5 feet, then I'm not against it. But I should know the answer to that after I read
if it's a
the 200-page book.
There should be class features that are leaning into it as a feature. Some of my own design work, I've got martial options that when an ally is within 5 feet of you, you can give them an armor class bonus, for example, as a reaction. When someone passes within reach of your weapon, you can grant them advantage on their attack rolls, stuff like that. If this was an intended enhancement of the combat action economy, they should have multiple examples of how to implement that, and they would be crowing about it on their feeds. But they have never mentioned anything about how cool it is that you can now affect allies with reactions. So it's probably an unintended consequence that they could say is an Easter egg that you can find. But if I'm creating cool stuff, I'm not going to hide it. I want to make sure you understand, this is how versatile we've made this game system. If an indie creator like me can already see the advantage of having reactions to aid allies, surely the world's most popular role-playing game creators would have recognized that and leaned into that as well during the design process. Same thing with the casting. If they intended for us to be able to cast multiple spells in the same round, they would have something for the sorcerer to spend 3 sorcery points to cast a 2nd level spell during their turn as a bonus action, and ignore the fact that they're not using a spell slot because they just set sorcery points to do it, which would also work within the rules, but they're not crowing about it during the sorcerer reveal video. That would be a killer feature. I can do that as a reaction maybe, or I could do that as a bonus action to really make the sorcerer a real spell slinger, like just crack them off. And you could technically use reactions during your own turn. Where's the language about I can spend 7 sorcery points and I can crack off a 3rd spell during my own round, and it's going to cost me a ton of sorcery points to do it, but I am going to Nova. And since the Paladin can't Nova anymore, someone should, and who else but the Sorcerer? So I think these are unintended flaws that, I mean, the design would lean into it and brag about it.
That's insightful.
You know, months. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
Just the idea of like rules as unintended is this like vast category that like should have been discovered and play tested out by the company with the most resources out of anybody doing this. All these unintentional conflicts or like omissions, right? Like stunned is stunning. He was like, yeah, you know it's 0, right? But like you wrote this huge technical document giving me the answers to all of these things. Why is it not in there now? Yeah, it just is upsetting.
Yeah, you know, Twin Steel here says something about 5.5 being undercooked. And, you know, I completely agree with that. This seems to be a habitual problem with WotC, is that they finalize something, then they let things slip in that they completely missed. You know, see the Hadozi from a couple years ago. But like in an interview a few months ago, it was after the UA process was complete. I think Jeremy Crawford or Chris Perkins was being interviewed by Todd Kenrick, and Perkins said something like, "We're even going to include things that we didn't show in the UA." And I was like, "Oh no, that's your Achilles heel, WotC." That's the worst possible thing you could do. And that's what we're seeing now is all these little things. Like they didn't run the new wording of stunned past everyone. They included some things in the UA, some things they didn't when there was just wording changes. But that's what it seems like. The people over here designing all the rules to make them have excellent synergy are not the same people over here who are going, all right, we need to cut 10 words out of this paragraph for the stunned condition because it's not going to fit on the page. Seems like those people are not talking to each other, and they're changing wording and rules that is breaking the way the game works.
Yes, I am at the point. I am rarely an early adapter. As much as that's like cool, it's also in like technology. You're taking on some risk. The first version of a thing is usually not the one that you want, right? You want them to work out the kinks, put it out into the world, and that's what playtesting is about. And Phil could speak to that quite a bit. But this feels like I didn't pre-order these books, and now I'm like, I don't think I want the first. I want to buy the revised version of this now. I don't want this version of the book. I want the next version of the book.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at.
Yeah, like Mr. Welch says here, being focused on backwards compatibility. Yeah, you know, with as much as they've changed, I wish they had just gone ahead and made a 6th edition and got rid of spell slots, got rid of ability scores, you know, all the other things that all the modern games are doing. I wish they'd just gone ahead and done that. Because the more I learn about this 5.5, the less interested I am in running it and playing it. I mean, some of the class updates look cool, but I don't need a new 5e. I've already got one.
Right. And like this could have been the equivalent of a Tasha's, right? Like
yeah, that was a smash hit. Everyone was dying for new stuff, and they delivered. And it was on par with the content that we expected for them. Well, mostly on par with what we expected from them. Some things were a little overtuned, but they had their place. So it's just hard to see how any of this is really coming together. And the problem is that so much stuff seems to be offloaded into the DMG. We're going to be sitting with a book that may or may not be valuable for us to see the whole picture for like another 3 months. So they need to be feeding us information about how the DMG is going to enhance and supplement the player's handbook that we're supposed to be buying.
Right. Like the existence of the Unearthed Arcana, like the blog, the semi-official, unofficial blog, cataloging all the things that Twitter, Crawford ruled on, and they made it cute and fun as if like, yeah, this is an organic thing. While like when new things are added to the old stuff, cool. Okay, but the point of this project was to resolve all of that stuff, right? And start clean. And it's not even out yet. It's not even out yet. And I feel like I got to check Twitter to figure out what the rules are when you guys have been writing these technical documents for a decade. This isn't starting from zero. This is an update on this existent thing that you've had for a decade. What's up? What's happening up there?
Yeah. Here, let me show you the a screenshot from Ted's video on dual wielding and the number of attacks. So the light property, when you take the attack action on your turn and attack with a light weapon, you can make one extra attack as a bonus action later on the same turn. That extra attack must be made with a different light weapon, and you don't add your ability modifier. Then the Nick property says, when you make the extra attack of the light property, you can make it as part of the attack action instead of as a bonus action. You can make this extra attack only once per turn. So now we're making 2 attacks at level 1 through 4 as part of our action. Our bonus action is free. That's what Nick gives you. It frees up your bonus action. But then Dual Wielder says, this is the new Dual Wielder, the 2024 version, not the 2014 version. Enhanced Dual Wielding, when you take the attack action on your turn and attack with a weapon as the light property, you can make one extra attack as a bonus action later on the same turn with a different weapon, which must be a melee weapon that lacks the two-handed property. Don't add your blah blah blah. So it seems to me like that's saying that at level 1, if you have the Dual Wielder, well, no, you couldn't have the Dual Wielder feat at level 1 because it's a prereq level 4. But say level 4, you get the Dual Wielder feat, you have light weapons and the Nick property, you're making 3 attacks every single turn. And then you're making 4 attacks at level 5.
And that's okay. If that, like, I'm not mad at that. I'm not even judging it yet. I can't even judge it because I'm still confused about, like, is that how it's supposed to be? Or is this a mistake? Or before I can even say, like, oh, that's fair, unfair, good game balance. It's like, what is the intent? What is the intention? Like, why are we trying to roll an insight check on the freaking rules of the game before we even start playing it?
The kicker to this is that Ted said he spoke to various people at Gen Con, and some people said that Jeremy Crawford confirmed that it is how it's supposed to work, 4 attacks at level 5. And other people said that Jeremy Crawford said that that's not how it's supposed to work. So,
and I believe that. I believe that he answered it in a way that did not clarify anything. I've seen him do it.
The general trend is to obfuscate, or to make a statement that says that what they wrote is what they intended, and they'll never change it until they make a new book.
Oh God, yes.
And they've got a severe issue with owning up on mistakes. I think that's a corporate-wide issue at this point. But if they have a flaw, we're not going to know it's a flaw because in the past they haven't, like, find traps as intended. See invisible, not seen invisible people, not intended. I mean, that was intended, but when they made the change, they said, we finally fixed the see invisible problem. Well, why wasn't it a problem when we called it out? So...
And they did, and like one of the videos that wasn't in that screenshot of all of these videos pointing out the confusing things about the new PHB before it's released is see invisibility and how it interacts with hide. And if I hide behind a bookshelf and you can't see invisibility, you can see me because like that. It's on X-ray vision. It's all very like in attempts to clarify problems that they've known have existed for a long time. They didn't fix the problems, or they did in a way that I don't agree with. Maybe. Yes, absolutely. That's I've said that on my table a bunch of. It's like one of my home rules is I don't care what that guy said on Twitter. Don't pull up Twitter in the middle of me running the game because I don't care. By that point, irrelevant. We'll talk about that tomorrow, maybe. Especially now that Twitter's not Twitter, whatever. We can go down that road too, but invisibility and line of sight are 2 different things, but maybe they're not anymore. but not apparently not, which is bananas.
Well, I don't think you need full cover to be able to hide. You need at least partial cover to hide. But
You need
Three-quarters cover.
You need 3/4 cover, but there is a weird little interaction of
it's
they can't see you when you do.
full cover, or if you are heavily obscured, you can also hide.
Yeah.
In 5.5.
That's not fully covered, so see invisibility would be able to trump through that because you can see invisible. And if they gain the status of being being invisible, if they have 3/4 cover and hit the hide button, which is really what we're talking about here. They're adding all this code in so that when you click on your character on VTT, it'll throw open a wheel and you can either investigate or you can attack or you can cast, magic action, or you can use object. Like they've got this wheel that they're building of actions to use and they're trying to code everything that you'd easily be able to drop into a BG3 engine. Like a little action star that pops up when you click on your character. That seems to be the kind of mindset that they've been going with in building this, trying to make these like pseudo tags of action and conditions, but they only have some staff from Pathfinder. So they apparently haven't mastered how to coordinate tagging things yet. So these inconsistencies are showing up because an action wheel command isn't syncing with the condition that it's supposed to be toggling. So that we're having these mismeshes that are causing the gears to grind, which is what we're talking about. So, but I think the whole frame of it is, I think they were really thinking forward, kind of like 4E was thinking that it was supposed to be built with a virtual tabletop that ended up bellying up. So it kind of flushed the excitement of what 4E could have been. But now that they have the technology to do what 4E want to do, they don't have the staff to be able to create what 4E was supposed to do for the game. And so it's now flipped. So now it doesn't work in print either. So
they broke it both ways. Like, I'm not even mad at them yet for like trying to digitize all of this, right? Like, okay, you're going to design the new game to click in much more easily to the code of your VTT. I don't know if I like that or not. I know that I don't like that, but like it feels inevitable, right? Paizo did it very well. Paizo's got so many tags, right? To the point where it's like it's a little confusing for a human, but you could see how a computer could easily do that. Like, it exists in the world. A guy who's smaller than you already figured this out to a large degree. I see you stealing other stuff from them. Well, I'm sorry, learning from them. Why don't you take these? Or why did you take it only halfway there? So now it's worse for the human and gonna create some weird interactions for this VTT if and when we ever see it. It's all very confusing and frustrating.
Yeah. You guys have any more thoughts here on these loopholes, or should we move on to what's probably the caliente topic, the spicy?
I'm already yelling, so maybe we should cool down first. Sorry, everybody.
I do want to say this, that that a lot of these situations, like this one described here in the screenshot, where you're using light weapons, you have the Nick weapon mastery, and you have dual wielder. These would be what we used to more call in the software industry edge cases. Things that probably aren't going to come up very much. And Optimancers on YouTube are very good at finding edge cases. It's a lot of what we do. Be like, D&D Shorts got super huge by showing you crazy ways you could exploit loopholes in the game to build amazingly powerful characters. But these are edge cases, and a lot of these things, like the multiple spells per turn thing with being able to cast Fireball and Misty Step if that Misty Step comes from Fey Touched, a lot of tables are just going to say, sure, that's fine, and they'll move on and they'll be completely fine with their lives. So a lot of these things are not the crises that they might appear to be. There's just a lot of them.
There's a lot of them, and there's a whole ecosystem of people who are hunting out these exploits, right? Like, we can argue whether or not D&D really has like a meta or not, but like in some bubbles it does. And these people are out there. So like, go reach out to D&D Shorts and a bunch of other people we could name. Give them the stuff and be like, hey, try to break this for me. And they would love to. You don't have to pay them. They would do that for free. Come back in a week and a half and be like, all right, what do we like? Do we want it to be broken in this way or not? Instead, we have this ambiguous, like, oh boy, I wish you guys had play tested this a little bit more before you expected us to hand you $60 for it.
In worst case scenario, 5.5 fails miserably, then we will just take the SRD for 5.0, make a new game called Pathfinder that has all the stuff you know and love from 5e, and just a little bit crunchier with everything renamed to different stuff. It's agility, not dexterity, stuff like that.
And then we get 60, which I give me a new thing.
Pathfinder, look for that coming 2025, possibly. All right. So the next thing, what could be our main topic, is that we just received word, I believe it was yesterday or maybe the day before, on D&D Beyond. They published a change log, which is changes to their software and all the stuff they're working on, and they put out an article in the change log called Updating the D&D Beyond Toolset for 2024 Core Rulebooks. And there are some upsetting things in here. Ryan, do you want to take the lead on this story?
Sure. Yeah, it seems like people do like me yelling about things, so let's go. So one, this is a boring, deep part of D&D Beyond. This is not a press release. This is not an article with a cool image at the top of the header. This is our quarterly update to the software. Boring, kind of buried. Maybe they should have put it out on a Friday afternoon if they really wanted to do it that way. They are pushing the updates in a way that we heard a good chunk of this stuff: classes, subclasses, species, backgrounds. You scroll too fast. There's going to be legacy versions of those accessible, right? So like I click on Barbarian, and down below there's another section of Legacy Barbarian. I can go get that stuff still. Further down in this, they list the things that you will not have access to as legacy content. It's just what's in the 2024 Player's Handbook is what's going to be not only just the default, but the only thing there. Core gameplay definitions. So it doesn't get more fundamental than that. Armor class, saving throws, skills and abilities, alignment, senses, area of effects, which I've done some homework, is maybe not as impactful as it seems, but every magic item, every weapon, every piece of armor, every spell. There's only one version. Now, you can still go access the 2014 Player's Handbook on D&D Beyond if you bought it. The idea that they're deleting stuff is a little bit of a exaggeration. I don't know if anybody watching this has ever gone and tried to find a book that they bought on D&D Beyond. It takes 7 clicks. It's hard. The search functionality is off now. The access to it through the character sheet, which honestly, D&D Beyond is a lot of things. It's the character builder, and it's the thing that your players are using at the table to run the game. If it's not accessible there, okay, it's somewhere, but I don't care. D&D Beyond is the functionality of pushing a button. What does this spell do? There's only one answer now. So if you wanted to even just wait and see what 2024 D&D was going to be like, maybe you wanted to wait and see what it looked like when it was completely out and you had monsters that were maybe going to match these new, more powerful characters. If your players are using D&D Beyond, you're going to have a lot of trouble doing that and a lot of confusion. So that's the not spicy version of that. I don't like it.
Are you going to give us the spicy version too, or do we have to beg?
Well, I mean, I've often explained to especially new players, D&D and Beyond is super helpful, super useful, super convenient, but one, I find people understand things less when the computer's doing it for them. So I rather someone pen and paper anyway. But two, you don't own this thing. It feels like you're buying it. You are paying for the privilege to access it for a while. eventually it's going to be gone.
Yep.
And this is that process starting. And I'm not even like, and that's an evil thing that corporations do. And I love saying that. It's an inevitable thing that's going to happen. Like, that is the deal. Your favorite movie eventually is going to cycle off of Netflix. Your book in your library, unless it's on your shelf or physically on your hard drive, is going away at some point. And if you don't like that, now is the time to take steps to prevent it. And it's not by sending in, I mean, maybe if we all boycott D&D Beyond, it'll change for a little bit, but it's the way of the beast.
Well, this brings up a very interesting question, because I know Demiplane is getting very close. I don't think they launched it yet, but is getting close to their 5e character sheet builder. And Demiplane is great. I use them for Daggerheart, and they have all kinds of other stuff on there. Is Demiplane going to release 2 versions? Because like this article says, when you navigate to conditions in your character sheet and click the entry for exhaustion, you'll see the new rules for exhaustion, not the 2014 version of them. It spells it out right there that anything that can be updated will be updated. And so I wonder what Demiplane is going to do. Is Demiplane going to have a toggle? Are they going to have both? I don't know. Very curious.
And a lot of these, I got a lot of comments about like, that's why I use Roll20. I'm like, cool. They're in a very similar position to you, right? They've negotiated a different sort of contract, but if it's not in the SRD, then yes, thank you, Clint. That's going to be, I've been looking for something to put on my business card. And maybe that's it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly the details of it, but there's some contractual agreement where your favorite VTT, if it's not in the SRD, they are paying for the opportunity to use the other stuff in 5e. That has an expiration date on it, and when it comes time to renegotiate, or for Wizards of the Coast to decide if they're going to allow somebody else to use the rest of the thing, and Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro finally has a VTT available, are the competitors still going to be able to use all of the stuff that isn't in the Creative Commons, in the SRD right now? My bet's no. That's not what I want, but that's what I think is going to happen if I had to predict what an organization whose only thing is to earn more money, that's what they're going to do. They'd be stupid not to. Their shareholders would hold them accountable if they didn't. So it's coming. So buy books, put them on your shelf.
Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned this already, Ryan, but their workaround is to make homebrew items.
Yes, and I was going to put that in the video anyway. I like that they put it here, except it's a major pain. I've done it before, and it takes a lot of work, especially if you want it to have functionality. It's one thing, okay, I can copy paste the definition, but by that point, why don't I just do that in a Word document?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Twin Steel's talking about like there's accessibility issues. Like, I'm privileged enough to be able to afford books, sit at a table with my friends. Like, some people are virtual or nothing and are actually like relying on D&D Beyond for a lot, so I am trying to stay despite Quinn's awesome tagline, I'm trying to stay like fairly neutral and balanced here, but like there's a much worse there's a lot of bad things about it here. I'll make room for you guys to talk now.
What's funny here is you see these two direwolf stat blocks on top of each other. Here's the old one where it has these red lines underneath the type of creature and the speed, and the new one doesn't have those red lines. And the funny thing is, having worked for software companies, I know that somebody had an hour-long meeting to discuss removing the red lines from the direwolf, and there was probably a healthy debate about what color the lines should be, how long they should be on there. Do they need a gradient? Should they be at exactly 0 degrees? Anyway, software companies are stupid.
Well, it's companies, man. Like, it's not some guy, right? Like, I wouldn't be picking it. Somebody made a game. There's some like loopholes or something. Like, I'm not gonna go hard at him. If it's some guy making a passion project, this is a Fortune 500 company with a bunch of employees doing this. We're going to hold you to a different standard.
Phil, you got any thoughts here?
Can I get in cornflower?
Let's coming from Phil, that's a great joke. That's a good joke anyway. Coming from Phil. Man, you want to give people context?
For color. But if you haven't seen Fight Club, go see it. It's epic. I don't see the usability improvements for the changes that they made to the stat blocks. It is a formatting change that, as a content creator, I don't really care about. I don't need to create a 3x2 block to set their stats in. I honestly think like SDCIWA and then stat and then bonus and then save underneath it as a 6x4 block would be a little bit more elegant to be able to like have a grid where you can see the stat line on top and then the number and then the bonus and then the save and then any kind of like, can you get advantage on something, like have a check mark. Like having a grid system like that you would just be able to repeat and drop in for anybody and have like all of your hard stats. Like what I like to do, and this is a tangent real quick, but what I do is I have good and bad. Like an ogre is good at strength and constitution stuff and bad at basically everything else. As a CR2 creature, it's going to have like maybe a +2 bonus, +3. So like it'd be like a +5 in its good stuff and like a +1 in its bad stuff. And then scale from there. Like an ancient red dragon is going to have like 5 things that it's good at and then like have one that it's bad at as a give me weakness for your players to find and exploit. That would be game design that leans into the narrative of your characters having more and more difficult challenges, leaning into finding the weaknesses to overcome that enemy. And if you have a grid block that provides you where their strengths and weaknesses are in a quickly referenceable document, that would make like stat blocks like this a lot more useful. Show where their strengths and weaknesses are and just a quick stat dump that all I need is that 5x5, a 6x5 block to show me what they're good and bad at. That's a very 4E mentality, by the way. Attack charisma with your dexterity, or like I'm going to make an intelligence attack against their charisma. Like that's how 4E worked, and it was great, except that it wasn't framed properly. I think in the today's modern approach to game design, that would actually be considered very elegant if you were to have something blocked out like that. But this isn't innovating or increasing the usability of what their monsters are by simplifying them. It's just taking the same glarb and rearranging how you look at it. So like the line, seriously, like you said, Jim, the line is the most significant change that they've made to the stat block. And that is completely irrelevant to me when I'm cracking stuff out on a notepad. So like, it's unfortunate. I wish I could come into this. I mean, when I'm designing stuff and I'm looking at some of the changes that they're making to classes on an individual level, like on a line edit level of the stuff that I've been seeing about the game, I like that stun takes away your action economy, but leaves you with movement, because there's things like a Shardalon's Flame, I think that's the name of the spell, that while it's active, while you're moving, it damages everybody that you cross, because if they're within 5 feet of your track, they take damage. So like you could lay that on a dragon and like, yeah, the monk just stunned the dragon. That's fine. He's just going to reposition himself and then just dump fire along the way as he goes. So everyone that's in his path is still going to get shredded, but he won't be able to use his bonus action and his actions against you. So it was worth it because he slowed his movement. So he's not going to be able to lay down as big of a track of acid, or like in the D&D movie, they had that dragon sweep overhead and he just like dumped like a 60-foot stretch of acid on a bunch of chumps and just ate an entire unit of soldiers. That is something you can do with stun. So it's not a stun equals churn off your big bad boss for a round, but I am going to be interested to see how much Wizards leans into movement damage or movement condition effects. Like that's stuff that I stream a lot. Like I want to see like what is every piece of action economy that characters and monsters have access to during a round of combat, and what cool design work can we build so that I'm going to build a movement specialist. I want to play a monk because for a point of monk, I can get both disengage and dash. And then if I have something like a shuttle on stride on top, that was it, a shuttle on stride. If I had that active on my monk as an elementalist monk, I could just be kicking around the field, and as I go by, I ding someone with a stun while I'm going by, damaging people. Like creating new ways to use your action economy is what makes game systems fun, which is why all these new breakaways from 5e, these like these D&D killers, are interesting to people because they're trying to look at how does combat work. How does the action economy inside of that system work? And what can we do to tweak it and bend it so that you can make it do more for you, either narratively or just mechanically? I lean into the mechanics side of stuff because flavor is free. But other people really like how you can express characters differently that way. And I think there's a lot of value there. But again, these don't seem like intentional design directions because it would have taken a lot more time to come up with an idea of like what's 15 different move-based things that we could have monsters do that will make it difficult or challenging or fun for your players to interact with when they are able to get a spell effect off of it. So, there you go.
And that's the thing. Like I'm here, like show me new innovative things and I'll decide if I like them or not. If stun doesn't stop me from running away or running around with an AoE active or something, that's interesting. Cool, maybe. Like that's interesting to me.
You just mistitled though. So
right, and then maybe it's not stun, but like there's some condition that stops me from acting but allows me to move still. I can see that, right? It's the Tweety birds going around your head versus like the, I don't know, whatever from the cartoon, right? Like different levels of that. If that was the intention, cool. But in my heart, I feel like it was an accident. It's like these unintentional flaws in a design. Yeah, and now they're gonna. I don't expect them to fix them either. That's the other thing. They're gonna be like, check Twitter, and I'll answer out of both sides of my mouth because we can't admit that we made a mistake, so we can't fix that mistake. So we'll get it next time.
Tasha's cold block of edits coming to you in 2027.
There you go. I don't feel like I got to cast a Shardle on Stride for the first time 2 days ago in a campaign.
Killer spell, heavily recommended. It's free action economy.
Yeah, I've been waiting months and months for a chance to cast that spell, and it finally came up. I was very excited.
Nice. Love it. Love it.
I think this little GIF here is a very good explainer of what the D&D experience is going to be like. D&D Beyond experience is going to be like going forward, where you have this long list, and then you have a separate long list that says Legacy. And if this is my first day dungeoning and dragoning, I'm looking at this going, what's the difference between the Ranger and the Ranger? Are they the same thing? Which one do I pick? Oh no, I better send a message to my Dungeon Master on Discord, and then it's the sound of Dungeon Masters groaning all over Discord from the thousands of additional messages they're going to have to, the technical support they're going to have to provide for D&D Beyond now. Because that's one thing they don't tell you about being an online DM is you are the resident tech support person. Something goes wrong.
And again, there's a button that it could be a button click to switch between 2024 and 2014.
Yeah, could be. But they want you to buy their stuff, so they're going to make it difficult. They want you to use their app, so you subscribe, so you can have more characters. They don't want you to know the rules. They want you to fill in the form.
But they shouldn't. Making it, again, from the business side of things, like making it difficult doesn't make me want to buy their app, right? Like if in 5 years, someone comes to the hobby, it's all easy onboarding, and then like, whoa, there's a whole, for an extra $5.99, I can get all the old stuff too. Like, yeah, I'll click that button, add it to my cart. Here, it's like a barrier of entry goes way up, and people bounce off of it, and you're losing customers, you're losing business.
Hard to say.
There's like this. There's a million D&D clones out now, so it's hard to like lump them all together. I like the action points. I like the DC 20 the Pathfinder's doing it. Nimble did it. I like simplification to create more options. I see that design a lot, and I like it. And I kind of assumed that 6e would do it because, I don't know, other people are having success with it, and they had an opportunity to make a new thing. But we shall see.
Yeah,
I would think that distinguishing the bonus action as something you can only do once per round would mean that the things that you do with your bonus action are going to kick ass. That you want to have that bonus action because it's going to ramp what your character is going to be able to do with their action economy. And more often than not, bonus action is just kind of a lump all category of you shouldn't have to spend your action doing this. So we're going to give you a sidearm that you can pop around off with. You can fire off something every round with. But it's not. They design it so sometimes it's stronger. Like the monk's triple strike with for one focus point on flurry of attacks, 3 attacks as a bonus action. That's pretty fucking cool. But having the ability to I don't know what's a random bonus action. The frenzy berserker was if you spend if you're willing to take exhaustion, you get a bonus attack. Or let's bring it up to modern, like just making with dual wielding, right? You can make an attack with your offhand weapon, but you don't get your stat bonus unless you're willing to spend feats on. Like that is far less powerful than what a standard action is. So there's a big disparity between is this more valuable or less valuable than the magic action that I can do once a round or the attack action that I can take once per round. And I could see it being that it's weaker at low levels and then it ramps into something more powerful at high levels, or conversely, if they want to design it so that it is stronger at low levels, so you get more punch for your character right out the base, but it tapers off at the high end as your main action becomes more and more powerful. That would be intentional design that you could lean into in the future. I'm at level 13. How strong is my bonus action economy right now? Well, you need to tweak that up a little bit because obviously all these other classes are doing A, B, and C right now, and you're only doing X. So that would be a really good benchmark for design work, but there's no indication that went into the thought process when they were designing any of it. So like in 3rd edition, they had actions, bonus actions, swift actions, free actions, and movements. And then you had 5-foot steps and multiple opportunity attacks. So they had like 7 different types of action economy that you could, object interaction. You could roll in 7 different types of actions inside of a round of combat. A round of combat for every character. And they were very intentional. Swift actions were very small, like minute half steps of stuff that you could do. And the bonus actions were ramping into larger stuff. And iterative attacks, full attack action versus a single action, those were very obvious ramps. But none of that design work is present. You just can't chart a curve on any of that stuff with 5 point whatever, because it is not consistent. It's just bonus actions are now your kitchen sink. It'd be cool if they could do that, but what else are we going to do with it? Now the paladin has 4 things that they could do with their bonus action, other than only being able to smite once per round. That's going to eat your bonus action. Your healing is going to eat a bonus action. A lot of your spells is going to eat a bonus action, and attack economy is going to eat your bonus action. So the paladin has a crisis of efficiency that the optimizers will find optimal, but then that just reduces the expression of the paladin character into AB, back, forward, left, right, ABBA, select start, and then I nuke. That's your optimal path. And if you don't do that, you're probably going to get yelled at by your other optimizers because you're not playing it right. Because suddenly there's a right way to play your character because it's the optimal solution, which has always been a problem. But now they are amplifying that problem instead of resolving it, which is the main through line here. Is this was an opportunity for them to really make this game sing, and it's off key right now with a sword throw. So.
Yeah, 2 things to that. Bonus actions it's a kitchen sink, so it's very unintuitive. Trying to explain what qualifies as a bonus action to a new player, impossible. task. And then the guy sitting next to him who has 0 bonus actions is like, wait a minute, should I be doing something? It's like, no, in 3 levels I'll explain it to you, but right now don't worry about it. I've had that conversation 100 times.
Right.
But what you were saying about the optimization thing, like if you give me 10 options, but there's one right answer, you've given me 0 options. You've just given me a headache.
The illusion of choice is what they call it in Pathfinder or any other extensive game system where you're like Path of Exile. They've got the skill tree, which is like 1 billion options in this massive wheel, and you're pathing your way along to find something. It's like, this path is more optimal than this path. So what are you actually trying to achieve? And you have to have system mastery to really build an insanely efficient machine that's fun to play. 5e D&D, since Wizards acquiring it, has, as I say, has been very much a deck building game where your character now is a ton of options that you can key into. And as you add more levels, you get more features to be able to bend in and create it. But they aren't providing us with really clear pathways of how you can hype up a certain, like, I want to be a skill monkey specialist. Like, you're either a bard or a rogue, but only vaguely, because they used to have expertise. But now a whole bunch of stuff is starting to get expertise, because expertise is the new advantage system. Advantage is where they lumped all the math into, instead of +1, +2, +3, +5, +9. It's all just advantage. So you get advantage, and that simplifies the entire system, but it doesn't help express character fantasy or your power fantasy, or hit the mark on like the kind of character. Like if I want to do a dragoon, like a combat pouncer, there's not a ton of options available outside of Paragon plus Charger equals dash in and hit with a bonus. Like that's the only way I can really express a dragoon pouncing melee character. So
I want to make that now.
Really, there was like 16 different ways I could build that, but they stripped out all that diversity because they simplified their mechanics. So anyway, rant. I really do wish I had more. Like on the individual line level, I love a lot of what they're doing, but they don't pull together into a single unit. So they're missing the biggest picture.
Yeah. So I think we might have come to the end of our discussion. I believe we have thoroughly traveled and ended at our destination. That destination being the end of the episode.
Yeah. Hey everybody. Don't worry about it. It's fine. You don't need this stuff anyway.
Play whatever you want. Have fun. Take different systems and smash them together. If you're having fun, then you're doing it right. That's really all that matters.
Yeah.
I would say above everything else, WotC has proven to us with the revision that anyone can homebrew. It's not awesome. It doesn't matter. You can still be a millionaire if you have an idea that people like. So just follow your passion, believe in what you're trying to achieve for yourself, and you'll find your tribe. They will agree with you and they will like your stuff, and just be true to where you're trying to go. And if what you see published by somebody else doesn't jive with you, you're not required to engage with it. Like both Ryan and Jim said, it's optional. So
amen. Whew.
Amen.
Thank you, Phil.
So Phil, tell us where we can find you on the internet.
At Phil Kearney. If you type in Phil Kearney, you'll get a ton of me, artwork, design, Discord, Twitter, YouTube. If you go to the second page of Google, you'll find Chick-fil A in Kearney, Nebraska. And that'll be a big can. But anything before that's going to be me. Be welcome to dive in and check out the stuff that I do.
Gotcha. And over there is...
Hey, I'm Ryan Doyle, and I'm having a good time. I might not seem like it because I was yelling before, but I'm okay. Don't worry.
And I'm GM Jim, and all of our yelling is done with love.
Yes.
That's what you need to know. We love you, and that's all that matters. And I think that's about it for us, so I'm going to hit the button, and we're going to get out of here. See you soon.
Bye, everybody.